to read what we're doing first, or shall we report attendance first?
I get attendance.
When I'm going to do the vote, as requested. Do that? Yeah. You want to do that first? Hi, this is that. Just doing attendance for the board to make sure we have quorum. That will secretary here.
It's Alabama trustee here.
Becky Trader here. Robin McDonald, board chair here.
And Anna Burton, trustee, sent her apologies. She's traveling for work, so cannot attend this night's meeting, but we have 4 out of 5 members present, so we are still in quorum.
This is a call meeting at 4:32 p.m. Call to order. This is our board meeting special. So in special meetings, public comment is reserved for regular board meetings. If you would like to make public comment, please attend one of the regular scheduled board meetings. The purpose of the special session of the board is to take care of business that was postponed from the regular board meeting session of 3/21/2024. To review the annual report for 2022 to 2023 school year and discuss enrollment projections for the 2024 through 25 school year ahead of the open public lottery on March 28th. And then our additional business is to brainstorm and prioritize action items in response to the notice to revoke, which we received on Friday. Officially. So onward. So first, we're going to be reviewing the annual report, and we're going to be discussing it, but we determined we're not voting on.
It has been submitted.
Yes, and it has been submitted to the commission through Epicenter, and it turns out it was the one that was attached to the email may not have been updated, so I will be resending that. I did connect with them on that day. Making sure they have the most updated report available.
And I do believe that if that is the case, they'll need to, I don't know, you have to have the epicenter opened up again so that can be posted.
Well, they said that one version of it was correct, and then the one that we know was not. So I think I just have the wrong. So I will be correcting that later. Looking at this one thing that really struck me was our SEL results for last year. Other than that, I mean, these are all things that I've seen reviewed in other board meetings. I don't know about was there anything screaming, look at me.
Well, I also noticed the social emotional learning that is a real strength of the school. That was also pointed out by Letty when she was interim head. That the staff have had a lot of professional development in that area and are using those tools. And I think going forward that providing children with solid social emotional learning schools will also lead to in years following to more academic progress, because as children develop control over their social emotional well-being, learn how to better to focus and persevere and build resilience, all skills like that, that all I think will lead to some better academic scores. I did also notice that we had some good growth in both reading and math, in the math scores, so that even though some of our students had come into our school, a year or more behind, that they are making some good growth.
I know that there's a lag on some of this reporting. When will we see, do we know when we'll see the reports for this last fall? Do you remember? I mean, for 23-24.
I'm sorry, I don't understand.
Do you know when we'll see more updated results?
I mean, academic schools. So
like what's the schedule, I guess?
Yeah, so we should be able to see them quarterly.
Okay.
So I do believe we saw the fall scores. They've already been reported to us. Then the winter, I know they've done the winter, completed the winter maps testing, but those scores have not been reported to us yet. So there is usually a little bit of lag time. And with the current head of school on administrative leave, there might be even more of a lag before we see those reports.
Report due,
That's right. That will be for the results this year.
I guess the other big piece I saw was the per pupil expenditure, and that our expenses greatly exceed our revenues. And that's something that going forward, I know that you're diving into. Have you seen anything just like that really stands out besides the staffing piece in terms of things that we can control? Okay. All right.
I think in most educational settings, staffing is by far the biggest expense.
and it's a paradox too, isn't it? Here's what it means. We're seeing the reflected story of our model.
Yes.
Not all of our models have, so I assume we should avoid models that don't. The spirit of Montessori alignment, is that right?
Well, I think, well, we need changes that we make going forward. I think we have to really keep in mind that if we make drastic changes from our charter, they are less likely to be approved as changes, an adaptation. But that might even be seen more as like, well, if you want that model, you need to write that charter. The charter that we have written was based on Montessori and place-based learning. And I do think going forward, we can lean more heavily into place-based learning, because that is a big part already of our charter. And there are many parts of Montessori that can still be honored and followed. Perhaps non-traditional great age groupings, so multi-age grouping, allowing freedom and flexibility within the schedule of the day. So it's not being scheduled as, like 20 minutes spelling, 30 minutes, everyone's doing this, then, everyone's turning to page such and such. It can still be very individualized to meet the needs of the students. And I personally have worked in Montessori elementary settings where we didn't have a second adult in the room, and we were in a fully accredited AMS, American Montessori Society school, a very successful school that now has grown all the way through middle school. I'm not sure it's up through high school yet. And we had some elementary classrooms that were larger classrooms with 30 students and 2 teachers. But we also had some smaller groupings where we had like between 15 to 20 students in a class. We only had 1 teacher for those. Well, it would mean that we would have to reach out to the commission and request a change. And we know that getting approval for changes take time, because right now in our model, we do say that there will be a guide and an assistant, so a team of 2 in every classroom. So that would be a significant change from the contract, and we would have to apply to have that change approved.
Your answer is so much better than mine. I have a question kind of leading from there though. Do we know where where it makes economic sense to have 2 adults per classroom? How many students need to be in the classroom for that break-even point?
It was like 30 per grade level or something silly like that. It was a lot.
Yeah. So I don't know that the finances, what was the grade point. But just from my perspective, it makes sense if our budget could not provide 2 adults per room to every age grouping, I would recommend that we prioritize like kindergarten and younger elementary. The younger students, I think, benefit greatly from having a second adult in the room. I think it can really help with things like literacy development. You know, when the younger they are, they more need one-on-one. They need someone to listen to them read to help them develop those skills.
I do have a meeting with Seth Webb from the National Center of Monitoring the Public Sector. Am I right?
Yeah.
Okay. On Thursday, to talk about what different options could be, given that we want to maintain our Montessori spirit, but we're looking at one guide per classroom. What does that look like? Is that something that could be supported? Something that could still be Montessori?
I'd like to recommend that we also look at trying to think of this name. Sorry, I'll think about a training program, think about the name. I don't have it on the top of my head, but it runs out of Canada, and it's a self-paced training program that they do for elementary teachers, and they come with really excellent curriculum guides. So that can also be a really great resource for the teachers.
Yeah.
It's the North American Montessori Center, NAMC. I knew I didn't think about it at the top.
I could reach out to them too. But those are some of the leads I'm exploring, because I understand that we can't just make changes. So I want to have options.
Yeah.
That's really important.
And I think the NAMC, if we were doing Montessori aligned rather than full on accredited Montessori through AMI or AMS, NAMC would be a good resource because of the curriculum guide provided.
So I guess that kind of leads us into part B, which would be projected enrollment for 24-25. And I believe we recognize that right now we have a lottery coming up, but do we feel that we need to cap it? I guess that's what we're talking about, right? Given where we're at and the amount of people expressing interest, is that something that we would need to do?
I think I've sent my thoughts on to Matt and Alan, and that I was just going, I know that our budget, one of the scenarios was based on an enrollment of 132, and I was really in favor of 132, but that was when our enrollment was sitting at about 113, and now it's dropped to 90. I personally feel that 132 is too high, and historically, this will be our 4th enrollment year, but over the last 3 years, we have missed our enrollment target. So that means on day one, you already start off like not being able to, fulfill your budget, because you started off with a deficit and there's no way to make it up, except for exceptional fundraising, which is hard to do. And then also, traditionally, we've grown between 14 to 24% between, 1 year and the next 1 year. So, like, looking at that number of what students we have now, which is 90, and then imagine it growing by about 15% to 20%. This is just my own thought. I just feel like a goal of about 108 students would be a sweet spot for me. Yeah. That we could try, we'd be growing our school up a grade, having some new kindergartners, and I'd rather like underestimate and exceed our enrollment, because there will still be spaces for us to exceed our enrollment, then, end up under and road.
Agreed. That's definitely a better way to build our moving forward.
And I guess when we're looking at different budget scenarios, is that number in like something that you guys look at on the lower end as far as closer to 100 and not in the 30s?
I have not seen a budget model that's. I don't know this one. So, Matt and I and all of us, we do system work.
Yes.
As to enrollment, yeah, we need our own credibility commissions too, no? Yeah. I agree.
I think projecting realistic growth numbers and planning realistically will go a lot farther than planning for this great number, 136 students, and then missing again and again. I think being realistic about that and setting realistic budget scenarios and realistic projections will speak a lot more highly of our plan to move forward than if we were to just throw out big numbers and say, we're going to hit these numbers, we're going to drive enrollment. It's not, I don't think it would be sustainable in our school anyways. I don't think we could grow with quality and the care that we want to if we aim for those big numbers. So I think, yeah, because I was at like 112, just like looking at numbers and not even doing math. It's like 112, that sounds like about right. So I think, yeah, 108 feels really good. So maybe that's the number we can like throw in there, see what that looks like, maybe keeping 2 guys in kindergarten. I don't know if there's a way, when we're talking about like different scenarios, if there's a way to float NIA between 3 of the younger elementaries at tactical times. Like,
Yeah, that could also be really helpful. Teachers can plan the high needs, where it's really helpful to have an extra person in as well at this time and schedule it, if they can rely on that.
And that might play a little bit more into the commission's concerns about PSS and places where we're kind of struggling.
yes. I think those would take us into our other business, which is our planning session. So we can,
We want to see run a model.
can you do that really quick?
It's not that I don't know that I can come up without running alongside.
Well, let's look and see what it does. That'd be super. Wow. Yeah. Look at you, Mr. Hunt.
25, I would 32 down because this model has us by class. So I have, let's see, 9 different classes to play with.
Oh my God.
But just for the part of it,
Okay.
yeah,
Maybe problem.
this is going to be one of those order of magnitude, so to speak.
Yeah, and so I was thinking if we have about that number of students, that we probably would have 6 classes.
Mm-hmm.
Again, this model is behaving as I think it should. It's not anywhere near breaking. No.
What's the gap look like?
Let's see our ending cap. It seems to be reasonable, and I
mean, for $500,000, right?
Go from a deficit of 500,000 minus 500,000 increases or negative cash by about 40 million. As we drop further into the hole, so compared to 130 students, it's significant.
Mm-hmm.
If we were able to attain a financially viable model at 132, possibly we could have won 10. We weren't at 132 either in Matt's last iteration.
And then even in that model, it would require some external funding.
Yes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we should aim to make that, also work to aim to make that need for external funding as small as possible.
Yeah. And ultimately, we should aim to achieve independence and not be external. If people want to donate, they can donate in ways that we get to write them a thank you note that says these are the specific things that we bought and the specific ways that your donation has enriched the lives of these students.
Playground, field trip.
Yes, for me, I would be wanting to support like the outdoor science group, you know, and know that the donation I made would go to that specific thing. Oh yes, the kids playground. Books for the library.
Yeah.
Exactly.
A library.
Oh, I love the fact, I do love the fact that the kids go to the public
No, that's
library. We have such an excellent library, it's walkable. And that was actually one of the reasons why we looked at Gladish initially, was because that it's access to the library, it's access to the trails, because that's also written into our charter, which is, you know, we use the rich resources of our community, and we just have an excellent library and really strong children's librarians that can support our staff, you know, that can provide programming.
Oh, well, seeing that person also, thank you. Oh, no, for sure. And I actually had a chance to meet with our mission team before this meeting, and the financials are a huge piece of our being moving forward. And I discussed, you know, there's no way we're going to close $500,000 gap between now and when we open. And being 60 days cash on hand, with 21 days cash on hand between now and then, it's not going to happen without a miracle. However, my proposal was, if we can show that we can grow in a sustainable way, and we can show that, you know, over a period of this long, here's our benchmarks, here's how we plan to get there, having frequent meetings with them and check-ins. There's no solid at this point, but they said that's definitely something that would be valued, rather than just saying we're going to close the gap, we're going to get our 60 days cash on hand. They want to see realistic projections and actionable items. So if that's something we need to work on that budget, we're able to make tweaks and see growth, even if it's not rapid growth, even if it's just like a consistent, slow growth over time. If we can name what that looks like, we can say at what point will we sustain, and we can, like I said, have those check-ins and follow up and say, here we are in our progress, we're ahead, we're meeting, and we don't have months where we're just dramatically in the red. I think that's what we want to aim for right now when we're making these budgets, is showing that we're growing towards a goal, and we have benchmarks that we can. I think that would be the most important part with the financial piece. And then
also securing external financial support.
Yes.
But again, just like for the commission, we're most likely to be able to secure external financial support if we can show that even though we may not be sustainable now, in, you know, by next year, we'll be that much closer the year after that.
Exactly.
Yeah, because then it's worth, I feel like that's worth supporting.
And also being able to show we have a sustainable model for our education growth as well. I think that's really important, is that if we stay open about the purpose, right? The purpose is to deliver high quality education to our underserved students, right? We want to make sure that these children who otherwise weren't fitting in their traditional school can thrive and grow here, and that growth must be measurable. So I think it's really important to look at that, like, in conjunction with this. So as we're moving forward and saying we should probably do like little break off groups, where we can meet together and like brainstorm and collaborate and reach out to our partners in responding to this. I think that would be a really important thing to speak to, is how we can grow our education model in a way that is measurable and how we're going to deliver those results. I think partnering with Janelle and Dave tonight is going to be really important as far as data-driven model and how we can apply that to what we're doing. And so, yes, that's my job. I want to make sure that we're all contributing in this, in the responses, and we all feel. And when Anna comes back, I want to talk to her and see what piece she would.
So one of the things I would like to suggest that we move on and would be willing to volunteer to do this, as I noticed in the sign-up genie that the SCC sent around, there were 4 additional people who were interested in serving on the board.
Yeah.
And I would like to reach out to them immediately, just because I've just gone through the process, so I've got the information. So what I will need to do is to reach out to Desiree, probably to the school, to get email addresses of the candidates. I will tell you who they are. And then, because if we have, we onboard another 4 board members, we will be up to 9. And so 4 will be 5, which means that 4 people like us here tonight, we could have a meeting, we could have more meetings without having to worry so much about being in quorum. And we could sort of divide and conquer the amount of work that we have to do.
And all our SCC meetings in this capacity.
Right.
That'd be amazing.
Yes. So I asked that. And then perhaps should we see if we can schedule them for our April working session?
That's be great.
I think that's April 11th.
And that's within our 30-day window. That's when I'm starting to so.
I think it is April 11th. And the other thing is, I think that actually also shows a strong commitment from our community, that knowing that we're under a notice to revoke, we have 4 members of our community that are still putting their names forward for board service. I think it makes a strong point.
Absolutely.
It's
Okay.
Nice. Excellent. Yeah, I definitely, safety and financials, just those are the really, really big ones.
yeah.
I know working with Janelle today, she was able to identify some opportunities, observing in the classrooms, and she was able to have conversations with people. It's something that I think will go a long way, because she comes trained as a former SPED director. So she has experience working with programs similar to ours with Nautilus and similar to groups like TMC, where the whole purpose is de-escalation. I think she was able to speak to that and help our people understand and utilize it more effectively, because that was a big miss in the commission's findings, was being able to utilize the de-escalation process in those situations and not have to restrain.
The people who are joining us, would you like to just say who Janelle is?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so if
anyone
missed our last board meeting, we decided to bring up Janelle Brainin, supporting our school as the interim head of school for the duration of the investigation. And she comes from Palouse Prairies originally. She hasn't been there for a couple of years, but she was an executive director there. She worked with Dave. She came highly recommended from Dave, in fact, and she will be presenting with Dave on the EL model of education that they both worked under in Palouse Prairies, and how it aligns with our place-based learning, and how expeditions and place-based learning and Montessori all share very similar values, and how we can use this data-driven model to help inspire ours to be stronger. So they will be here tonight, actually. And if you can make it, it's the SCC meeting at 5:30. So they'll be here, and she will be able to meet anyone who's interested too. She's very fantastic. We're very excited to have her, and she made so many connections today. To be here until the 12th of April is our projection. But again, we don't know with this investigation. We don't have a timeline. we're kind of at the mercy of the interviews at this point. No, not as far as timeline. Yeah. 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 But hopefully she'll be able to impart some wisdom and help us grow in our safety practices and utilize those that we already have and possibly give us insight into new methods as well. Yeah. Yeah, safety.
Hopefully she'll have insight into where challenges aren't and how we can do a better job either of following our processes or adapting them if they're not working correctly.
I think so. And I think she actually was, she was a certified trainer a few years ago in the Idaho version of our knowledge training. So I think she's definitely going to be able to offer a lot more than just basic leadership during her stay here. Very exciting. Yeah. And then, so my conversation with our commission partners, we talked about finances and achieving sustainability and not rushing it and just making sure we're being realistic and that we can achieve our results. And then also the safety piece and making sure that we're hitting our, we're monitoring our calendar closely as far as compliance. And they sent me a copy of that. That's something that I think we can all, I can share and we can all add to our calendar so we are all on the same page and we all understand when reports are coming due. Depending on how long this investigation takes, it may be something that we all have more involvement in than normal, at least in making sure that it's being submitted and being worked on in a timely manner.
I did notice on the board dashboard that we have made recent improvements on our compliance pieces that which is one of the things that our head of school is doing while she's on administrative leave. She has been working on catching up on some compliance pieces. That's
So we're chipping away. I think the most important part, and unfortunately the commission staff that we work with is not the one ultimately deciding, right? It's going to be our board. So right now,
right, they are the staff. The commission themselves, yes, are much more like the board that oversee the work of the staff, but it's the staff themselves that come up out and do investigations, that do things like we'll often have a member of the commission staff will be observing the board board meeting.
we do have an observer tonight, so yay. But no, that's something to be aware of is that they can give us recommendations, they can give us some guidance, but we are in a historic situation right now, and no one knows. No one knows. No one's seen it happen before. So however it goes, we're making history. So all we can do is say we did everything we could, right?
So in the past, so there have been schools in our situation before, and in the past they have chosen to just give up the charter.
They turn
their charter back. And so we are the first ones who are saying, we're going to work to right the ship and keep the charter.
Yeah. Other schools have been in similar predicaments, but not reached the point of relocation, where they've been, under investigation and they've had notices and they've had actionable items, but they were able to either right the ship or it just didn't go down this path. So we're just figuring it out as we go. And like I said, I mean, they can definitely give us some guidance and, some insight as much as they can, but it's not even their decision. So,
they'll also, they have the year decision based on some. I suspect that as we're likely to listen to a lot of the recommendations from our staff, they're likely to listen to a lot of the recommendations from us.
Because there are people on the ground.
Exactly.
First things we gotta make sure we're doing the right thing all the time, no matter what, and that we're moving forward. And honestly, just being really transparent about the process and just making sure that if anything comes up, we're communicating it. We're communicating our needs, And we're not saving it to the last minute and begging for forgiveness. I think that's really important.
I know that, I'm not sure if it was that Thursday meeting, you talked about meeting, like bi-weekly, did we?
Yes.
So is this something that we should do now, maybe an action step that we schedule those meetings? Because I know that, we not only have we got board meetings, but we also have SCC meetings to attend, finance meetings to attend. And so just to try and avoid having to reschedule.
So I think if we recall the kids from our last meetings, we would actually be meeting on 4/4, 4/18, 5/2, and 5/16.
I'm going to say that again.
So we'd start on 4/4, and then we'd meet every other week after that. It'd be 4/4, 4/18, 5/2, and 5/16. And then the SCC could plan on every other week around that.
So that means we would be moving up our working session. So would be the 4/18 be our regular board meeting?
Yes.
And that's
And-
when this year, so we've got 30-day clock.
But that means we would also meet once between now and then on next week on, because this was the emergency. So.
So the full, so that would be the days that we would do our interviews.
Yeah.
Okay. So okay.
Yeah.
So so I will send these dates to you. Probably do.
And then you guys are in a planning session right now, or are we still in the first?
We are in the planning session. We talked about.
We did. So there's, and we were talking about, there's really, at this point with the demand and where we are in enrollment, we do need to run the lottery to be compliant, but I simply don't see 40 people enrolling between now and then. I haven't seen the demand.
Just in case, but realistically,
Mhm. Yeah. I think the natural rules will apply for this year. And that would be, our classroom size would be set at, was maximum of, was it 30, 39? 30. Was it 30? Okay. I think that's fair. I think that that's something that in a model change, when we're planning that, we can discuss, 2 teachers per class over X amount, even if it's not appropriate, rather than designating by teachers saying bring class over blank 2 guys.
I go to the way.
Yeah. I think that would be something to consider as well as we're looking at model projections.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I just had some more suggestions I thought about that we could, some action steps that we're taking. So, first we've scheduled these extra meetings so that we can be more responsive and also get work done before the 30-day limit. We've got to reach out to the 4 candidates so we can grow our board. And that will allow us also to do some more small group work.
And when you mentioned interviews, that's what you were talking
Yeah, interviews for the candidates on April the 4th. So I'll get onto that right away. You both know it takes a while to, get questions answered and fill out all of the required forms. And so another item I thought would be perhaps just sort of maybe garnering some support and getting some letters of support. We did have some, really strong letters that came in to the commission the day of the meeting, but is it possible? I don't know if you know this from the conversation. Would it be helpful to have letters, like collect letters now ahead of anything? Because then they could also be submitted as public testimony ahead of the hearing. But not everyone can turn around and write a letter in 2 days.
I think we could definitely put it out for a community that it wouldn't hurt, but I think also the commission will operate on a hope and a prayer. So I think that actionable items like the FCC and their fundraising campaign, because right now they're going to get a t-shirt campaign going. And then also just being able to show that like we as a community, because the community is really driving this right now, can set goals and we can achieve them. I think that's extremely important. So being able to continue partnering with them. And I did reach out to them about including the board email in their communications. And then Desiree and I are going to partner on getting the board email to forward to us so that we can all be in communication with those requests. But I think that on top of having that support, I think that showing support, showing up, being available, the event we're having tonight, I think is going to be a good opportunity. And I think Anne's videos of the things are going to be really helpful and like showing the physical response of the community and not just the letters, because they're impactful. However, they're faceless.
Right. Oh, I love the video. Yes. And I think if we have more videos, would also be an excellent way for the community to. And I was also thinking of reaching out to some of our partners, such as like Gladish, because we're a big part of the Gladish community. The Gladish, I don't know what his official title is, John, has said that, Gladish are willing to work with us as much as they can. They already have. So having a letter from basically our landlord would be helpful. Yes. Yes. And I was thinking of, at Jules Grove,
the group that does our SEL testing.
Yes, that group.
The gentleman in charge of that, I did speak with him about a missing invoice, but he also said, "I'm so sorry to hear what's happened through school. You've shown such amazing growth, and that's being noticed outside of our school."
Right. So a letter from what's the name of that group?
Thank you. Reflection Sciences.
And also our the group that come out and do coaching.
TMC.
The YMCA?
No, not the TMC, but there's also the sponsored by the Gates Foundation.
They science.
No. It's some kind of
We'll ask.
Yeah. I will ask as well, because I also think they've come out several times and they do observations in the classroom. And again, if I feel that like you mentioned, they said growth. And so I think like the people who provide the social emotional professional development for our staff and come in and work with that on, they just been saying, I've seen such amazing growth. Because that's what we're trying to do here, right? Is grow.
Definitely things to be thinking about as we move forward. How do we demonstrate that growth across the board? Because we can't just be good at the social emotional learning. Because as much as I value adults with great social emotional skills as an employer, there's more to it, unfortunately. I want to make sure we're hitting all the numbers.
It's part of the picture. Yeah. It's not the whole picture.
Yeah. So we definitely need to really dive into like the language arts, English, the math, the science. We actually we're doing very good at science. So that's another feather in our cap is that we were pretty much on par with the district in terms of our science.
Yes, we will.
Which isn't, we can celebrate the wins, but still we need to recognize that there are these areas of opportunity and really dive into them forward. And how do we analyze those numbers? How do we address those deficits? And I think that dual IA where they can maybe flow between classrooms and provide more individualized support. They can help during transition times and also just be one person for 3 classrooms. I think we have to start thinking really creatively like that for this next year, because should we stay open and should we follow our trajectory and open 9th grade next year? Financially, that will help a lot.
Oh, yeah.
But we have to be in a place to accept 9th graders as well. And we have to be in a place where that's part of our program that we are ready to expand into.
We have to be providing them with education that meets the accreditation requirements.
Yeah. That's a whole new ballgame here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a challenge. It's going to be a learning curve.
Yes. So seeking those partners now will probably be good as well. If there are other schools, charter schools, schools of choice who are K through 9, I think it would be really interesting to talk to them about what that looks like and the challenges they've overcome. So add that things.
That could be another actionable item. Is for someone to volunteer to do research. Are there K9 schools and seeing if they would be willing to to offer what support they might be willing to offer. Because I think one thing I know in the model we were looking at the 9th grade, by the time we have the 9th grade, there would probably need to be somebody who was like director of curriculum for the upper grades.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Instructional partners, that's what they're called. Thank you. Yep, so the instructional partners are funded by the Gates Foundation, and they provide coaching to, it's an opt-in program, you don't have to, but if you opt in, your staff will see coaching from the instructional partners. The instructional partners work in many schools. They themselves are expert teachers, and they go in and they observe in the classrooms, and after they observe, they provide feedback.
Yes, I think it'd be good to connect these folks and talk to them about what they see here that's going well, and also how they can partner with us to improve areas that we need help in as well, like as anything else. This is about getting really early last time. As far as our brainstorming and prioritizing, I really think we need to outline who is captaining what. You're the finance guy.
Right now I'm just researching everything.
Yeah. Is there something that you feel that you've gotten more traction on, or something that you feel more passionate about? Or maybe you will contribute to?
I'm at the point where I have a pretty good handle on it and what it is that we need to be planned for CW 26A. Second, that kind of led me towards MTSS, and that's kind of been what I've been looking at more recently to try and better understand what we're shooting for with a multi-tiered support system, and kind of hopefully get a better handle on what our opportunities are to improve, and hopefully get to a point where we're better at de-escalation before things end with a student eloping or being restrained.
Okay. So compliance and safety.
I was going to suggest that might actually be a really good area. You don't need to being the point person to keep track of compliance pieces that are coming up and making sure that we're compliant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can do
You
that.
can check at the compliance calendar.
Mm-hmm. Let me finance, please. I believe that there are two aspects of the recycling. Sure. And one of those is natural liability. The other is natural stewardship by the board, because you cited that. And, I think that's the easier one to address, but I can own that one as well.
Oh,
Unless somebody else is already doing it.
so that, and Matt from Juice Grow has in the past given us some really good overview training on budget and, you know, what to be looking for. So that's a partner who can do that. And then I know I took the training that was, it's now a requirement for the commission's training that they did. Has anyone taken that?
I haven't heard that.
Yeah, but it's very good. It's a really, really good training. So I would recommend that. And I would say that I completely agree with that, because I know that when I look back at it, it's scary that I was hired to run a school without much budget experience. And so that's usually a huge area of growth for people. And I know from my own board members that serve on the board of the school, it takes them a while before they get to familiar with the figures, and where something then jumps out like, oh, what's going on here? Because you notice like, oh, rent went in, you know, February was a short month, so the rent that should have gone in at the end of February ended up going in the end of March, but then we had another rent went out also in March. So that's why rent looks really high this month.
And finance committee, I saw you were reaching out. Have you had any takers for our finance committee since we're down Aubrey and Eric?
Yes. I'm not sure what acceptable minimum is. I would think 3. With Aubrey and Eric for 2, they both resign. And having one is not.
I think Matt's on it too, right?
Donna, Joseph, and Kim as well.
Okay. Thanks. Awesome.
And I'll put enough time.
Yep.
To get it together.
Nice.
That goes my around question. You probably more about it. Yeah. So with finance committee, are there problems if we have?
Gosh, I should know the answer. The finance meetings are already public meetings. And so I will look into it to be sure. I think we need to look into it. But off the top of my head, you know, what are the requirements of the OPMA? It's open public meeting. The agenda is posted at least 24 hours. Minutes are kept, and then you have to have quorum. So I think the issue would be especially if we grow to 9. If we grow to 9 and you wanted, then we could have up to 4 members of the board serving on the finance committee without being in quorum as a board. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah.
So if you have any number of trustees as opposed to
My interest would be more toward attending just to.
I attended the last one.
Yeah.
So,
And the reason I didn't was I wasn't sure whether that ran afoul of our quorum requirements from reading the bylaws.
so right now we have 5 board members. So 2 people can attend the finance committee without us being in quorum. So I think just
You can take the next one if you want.
Yeah, it'd be good to know if we ran afoul of our bylaws there, because I don't really have a lot to contribute there, but I would like to get more up to speed with it.
to listen and learn.
It was nice to know.
When you say you don't have a lot to contribute to me in a way, that's kind of first out there because we are not speaking in detail with these.
You can ask good questions.
That's right. You with us to with concise. I start throwing backward. It's going to be. So
What was it?
So having somebody who doesn't know the exact problem.
Yes. Okay,
I guess
so
there's a huge part of my job is making sure I don't use too many acronyms. Use with everybody who's
so that's fair. So we'll plan. If you just want to take the next one, that's fine. I think that'd be good. Yeah.
and moving forward.
Yes.
And we can just be part of our board meeting. You know, our meeting's coming up. Who is planning, who would like to attend, so that we can just decide ahead of time, along with SCC meetings. So like for tonight, you both said would like to go, and you both have like the grandchild and the child in the school, so it seems really appropriate that you two get the opportunities to go. And we've both spoken with Janelle and Dave already ahead of time.
Be excellent. Like having more presence would be really nice. So yeah,
I'm just going to just write that as an action item.
Yes.
And put it on the agenda.
Designate.
Each time is designate attendees for SCC and finance
like that.
committee.
Yes. Look at us.
I actually
Actionable
really
items.
enjoy meetings like this, where we can have a conversation all together, because as a board we often can't have conversations together because of board. So it's it's just little things like that we can sort out when we're in this sort of setting.
And it's easier to come to consensus about things if you are able to talk about them a little bit rather than just voting.
Yeah.
Easier to address concerns. Try and better understand our blind spots and such.
Speaking of voting, do we need a vote to change the date of our meeting?
Let's just do it.
Yes.
We'll never get into trouble for voting.
Right. All right.
We can, if we miss something that we could vote on. But I'll propose that we move to a bi-weekly schedule with meetings scheduled for so yes, so we'll keep our regular board meeting, which was the 21st. Past that, I'm lost in the calendar. We're already past that. So yes, so we're going to move them to 4/18, which will be our regular board. 5/2 is going to be a working session. 5/16 regular board. But let's just, before we do that, let's just think about this. The finance committee meetings should be ahead of our regular board meetings.
Was this point in the state? So it's not currently.
Sorry, say that again.
I believe I'll check here on that.
So it should be this Thursday, which will be the week before our meeting. We should be good. We should have a finance committee meeting on the 28th, you're saying?
So there's one scheduled the 23rd.
So Thursday, April. See, that's the 23rd of April is ahead of the regular board meeting. And typically, our finance committee meetings go ahead of our regular board meetings. So at the regular board meetings, we can approve the financial report.
Or should we adjust it to the 15th of April to be ahead of the 18th?
So you're suggesting that I understand you right? That's not the finance committee.
Yeah.
Board meeting.
Yes, and I don't know when, everything comes into finances, so I don't know. It's just, if we do it if the finance committee goes after the regular board meetings, then there'll be a bigger gap before because typically we haven't approved the finance report at our working sessions. We kept our working sessions to more like brainstorming, planning sessions, interviewing, etc. And we kept, out of the mandated items, approving the financials for the regular board meeting. And you can't approve them if the finance committee had a chance to work on them and present them to us.
So I just need to move it. So we'll move so when we make our motion, can we also include to move the finance committee meeting from the 23rd of April to the 15th?
Well,
Or the 16th? The 16th, I'm sorry.
I think maybe we could just ask the finance committee to find the date. I wouldn't like to dictate the date because we don't have to know what that constraints are.
Okay,
So going back to my proposal. Sorry, I propose that we move our meetings of the board to a bi-weekly schedule. And our meetings for the next 2 months will be working session 4, regular board meeting 418, 5-2, working session 516, regular board.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye. And also will make recommendation that finance committee work to schedule a date to have the finance committee meeting ahead of the regular board.
Yes. And we're meeting with Matt tomorrow, so we'll see if there's due dates that may be important.
And also try to schedule them at least a couple of days ahead, not the day before, because we also need to have time to attach the financial reports to the agenda and get them out with 24 hours notice.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Sweet. All right. So on that, sorry we ran over, but we were feeling really productive. If we don't have any more closing items, shall we adjourn? Okay, so we're adjourning our session at our special meeting session at 5:34 p.m. Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Thanks for joining.